audience, Assalamu alaikum. A gracious welcome to you all on the second round of the first inter-school English debate competition organized by Bangladesh Television Chattogram Center. Debate is a powerful tool for creating an innovative and a logical mind. It helps develop the personality of people. In addition, a student can increase his confidence as well as the scope of his knowledge through actively participating in debate. Dear audience, today the selected motion of the debate competition is lack of women's rights consciousness is the root cause of their backwardness. The team for the motion belongs to Starline Sprout International School, Feni. The team against the motion belongs to Japan International Dream School and College, Gazipur. Speakers for the motion are Zarifa Zafar Prito, Istiaq Islam Aryan, Saini Shahadat Risal. Speakers against the motion are Imran Hussain Fayaz, Onnoy Francis Costa, Golpo Alex de Costa. The honorable adjudicators of this session are Ridwan Alam Adnan, former President, Southern University Debating Society, Director, Arkline. Ahmed Reza, Vice President, Bangladesh Debate Federation. S.M. Muqtakin, Principal Officer, Dhaka Bank Limited. The topics on which our honorable judges are going to assign marks in the constructive round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 10, Presentation of Theory and Information 15, Argumentation and Rebuttal 10. The topics on which marks will be awarded in the rebuttal round are Presentation 5, Language and Pronunciation 5, Argumentation and Rebuttal 20. Dear viewers, now we are going to introduce our honorable moderator of today's program who will conduct the entire competition and announce the results at the end. The honorable moderator of today's competition is Professor Dr. Tunajina Sultana, Chairman, Department of Marketing, University of Chittagong. Now, I would humbly request you to come up on this stage and take your seat. Before we start the debate, let me inform you about the order and time allocation of each debater. Each debater will get 5 minutes to present his speech. An alarm bell will ring on 4th minute and final bell will ring on 5th minute. In the rebuttal round, both the team leaders will get 2 minutes each. An alarm bell will ring on 1.5 minute and final bell will ring on the 2nd minute. Dear viewers, this round of our debate competition will be posted on facebook.com/PTV Chattogram and on www.youtube.com/@PTV Chattogram. Now, I most humbly request the honorable moderator to preside over this competition and start the debate.
I would like to invite the first speaker for the motion team, Zarifa Jafar Prito, for her speech.
Assalamu alaikum to honorable moderator, respected judges and my fellow viewers. I am Zarifa Jafar from Starline International School and I am the first speaker of my team. Now I would like to thank our honorable moderator for giving me the chance to discuss today's topic, which is lack of consciousness of women's rights is the root cause of their backwardness. Women's rights are the inherent entitlement and freedom that every woman should have. Why should we be conscious about it? And what is consciousness? Consciousness is when someone is aware about something or gives priority to that thing. Now, being conscious about women's rights is crucial because it promotes gender equality, empowers women to assert their entitlements, inspires future generations to create a global impact, contributes to a just society, and paves way to a more equitable future for everyone. Lack of consciousness about women's rights is the fundamental cause of their backwardness. Let's explore this phenomenon through different articles, stories, and evidence. Honorable moderator, there is an article named The Impact of Lack of Consciousness Bias on Women's Program. This article delves how unconscious bias stemming from societal norms affect women's opportunities and hinder their advancement in various fields. Many countries still have laws that discriminate against women, but they don't have the knowledge to challenge those laws. Then, when they are unconscious of their rights, they may unknowingly pass on the traditional norms to their children, and they are perpetuating the cycle of gender disparities. In conclusion, the lack of consciousness about women's rights acts as a significant barrier to their progress. Limiting opportunities, perpetuating backwardness, education awareness, campaigns and advocacy are essential to empower women with the knowledge and confidence to challenge norms, demand equality, contribute fully to the societal development. Honorable Moderator, I am adding a point about unconsciousness of women, and that is, when women are unconscious, they usually go to different sorts of people who very often women flocks with the right and the help of religious beliefs and norms. Honorable Moderator, I would like to talk about some strikes that women did for their rights. Women did a strike on August 26, 1970. The women of America went on a strike and they were conscious about their rights. That's why they did this strike for their equality. The first women's strike were also led by women workers who produced matches whose prosperous ruined their health. It happened in Jönköping, Sweden, 1881. Now, in this case, women were conscious about their health. That's why they did this strike. Honorable Moderator, I would like to add one story. There is a story of Japan which is known as most heinous case of today's Japan memory. In 2011, 4 Japanese men were sentenced to death for committing 4 murders. And yet 4 Japanese men were convicted one of the heinous crime in recently Japan memory, which is known as the brutal murder of 17-year-old girl Junko Furuta. And this case was held in 1981. They were handed free after lightly imprisoned. Now, in this case, where is your law? Where is the justice? And where is your organization? Nothing. There was nothing, because no one was conscious about this act or this case or about the little girl. If anyone was conscious, they would have raised their voice and give justice to that poor soul. Now, many people can say that illiteracy is the root cause of their backwardness. Is it so? No. Let me tell you a survey, Honorable Moderator. According to the findings of the first quarter of the Labor Force Survey 2023, we have observed that 48.25 million of labor force are male and 25.44 are female, whereas according to the population and housing census of 2023, the literacy rate of women was 72.82%. So how can literacy be the root cause of their backwardness? So we can say that the root cause of their backwardness is not illiteracy, but unconsciousness surely is. To say mostly in the essays, women of different countries aren't conscious about their own rights as a whole, and those who are born to make laws apply them to ensure women's rights. They also don't make. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Imran Hussain Fayaz, the first speaker from Japan International Dream School and College, to speak against the motion.
How does our mind develop? What shapes our thought processes and guides our perspectives? Is it just what we decide by ourselves, or does the way our society works also shape how we think? Today we are going to find these psychological factors. Thank you, Honorable Moderator and respected judges, for giving me the floor. And I stand before you to present our perspective against the motion that the lack of women's rights consciousness is the root cause of their backwardness. The topic revolves around understanding why women find it harder to move forward in our society. In our debate, we will try to explain that it's not only about what women are aware of. It's also about how society is organized, which has an impact on their progress. Our second speaker will elucidate the direct impact of social barriers on women's backwardness, emphasizing how structural impediments curtail their progress. On the other hand, our third speaker will discuss how social structure is directly responsible for women's backwardness in the economy, which psychologically makes them reinforce the traditional gender norms. And at the end of his argument, he will summarize the whole debate of our today's discussion. We are not just contending with individual willpower. We are dissecting how collective consciousness shapes individual potential. Honorable moderator, Dr. Jane Smith, a social psychologist, said, our minds are shaped through a complex factors including education, environment, and experiences. These factors influence their perspectives, beliefs, attitudes, guiding us through life's intricacies. So, some people might say lack of consciousness is the main problem, but while lack of awareness might play a role, it's important to remember that this unawareness stems from a deeper issue, which is the root cause, that is the social structure leading to the unconsciousness women face. A great media personality, Oprah Winfrey, once said, the greatest discovery of all time is a man can change his future by merely changing his attitude. The prominent sociologist Herbert Spencer said the mind is not a blank slate. It's a canvas shaped by society's brushstrokes. Limited political representation, workplace discrimination, and social norms contribute to women's disadvantaged position. Honorable moderator, in our society, women does not only make aware of their rights by knowing. It's also about how they change their perspectives by knowing. In the ILO, for example, the limited political representation of women in Bangladesh's decision-making process, Bangladesh's share of women in ministerial position is 10% and parliamentary position is 20%, which are relatively low. This lack of representation perpetuates policies that fail to address women's unique needs and challenges. In the ILO report of 2021, we can see that a gap of 40.8% was existent in wages between men and women. Knowing about women's rights is important, but it's not enough to solve these big problems. Seeing how complicated it is pushes us to work on both knowing and changing the bigger system to make real changes happen. Honorable moderator, in our society, there are many social barriers. What are these barriers? Why does women have to be conscious that makes them to be in backward position? Our society, our mindset, the people is not like what we think. We have to change our mindset first. In our society, we can see that many people talk back of women when they do something to come in front of people and just show that they are free, they are independent. But this is not the case when they just come and speak for themselves. People always push them backward so that they just don't come. The social traditions they have, the social traditions that are present in our society. So that means if we want to take this backwardness position from women, we have to first make change in our mindset, in our social structure, in the organization of our societies. So the women have to be conscious, but they have to be more they have to be aware, but we have to work together to change these social norms, these traditions, and the mindset. Thank you, Honorable Moderator. Thank you, Honorable Judges.
Now, I would like to invite the second speaker from Starline Sprout International School, Feni, Ishtiaq Islam Aryam, to speak for the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor. Honorable Moderator, respected judges, beloved audience, and my dear opposition team, Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to one and all. Honorable Moderator, our national poet Qazi Nazrul Islam said, all the good done by the civilization, half is done by the women and half by the men. But at present, women are going behind. Isn't lack of consciousness of women's rights the root cause of their backwardness? Yes, it is. Women are often subjected to gender-based discrimination, which manifests in the form of unequal pay, limited opportunities for advancement, and lack of support for work-life balance. According to 19th article of the Constitution, at all levels of national life, women's participation and opportunities are ensured equally. But does women know that they have this right? Are women conscious about their rights? Are we conscious about women's rights? No, we are not. Honorable Moderator, it's an utopia to establish women's rights properly, mentioned in Sultana's Dream, written by Begum Rokeya. However, let's come to the biggest area of discrimination, the amount of money women get compared to men for same work, using the same skills and putting in the same number of hours is very much low. Why this discrimination? Isn't women conscious about their rights? Why aren't women conscious about their rights? Why aren't we conscious about women's rights? Over 2.4 billion women don't have equal job opportunities as men, with laws restricting the types of jobs they can do. Source World Bank 2022. Honorable Moderator, according to Manusher Jonno Foundation, in 2020, 14,000 girls became victims of child marriage only in 6 months, and most of them were between 13 to 15 years old. However, this also affects the development of the nation because in Bangladesh, due to child marriage, the girls become deprived of proper education and thus they cannot play a vital role for the development of the country. But in foreign countries like America, girls can study well and don't become a victim of child marriage, so they can play a vital role for the development of the nation. Dear opposition team, isn't lack of consciousness of women's rights and gender inequality the root cause of it? Yes, it is, because according to Child Marriage Restraint Act 2017, if any person solemnizes or conduct a child marriage, which shall be an offense, and for this he might be punished with a imprisonment of 2 years, but not less than 6 months. Honorable Moderator, nowadays women are being tortured at their home. That includes physical abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, and sexual abuse. But why aren't they preventing against it? Instead of preventing against it, they are suffering and bearing this pain. Why aren't they preventing? Isn't lack of consciousness of women's rights the root cause of it? Are we actually conscious about women's rights? No, we are absolutely not. Because according to Domestic Violence Act 2010, if any woman becomes victim of domestic violence, she can instantly report against it, and the government and the law will obviously support her. Honorable Moderator, in 2018, a girl of
faced by women in a more comprehensive manner. That includes we should provide them with quality education, and we should dismantle the institutional biases that hinders a woman's progress. For the empowerment of women in political sector, government has taken many steps. Some mentionable steps are the reserved seats for women in the parliament have been increased by 5 and made 50. For more participation of women in political sectors, the Union Parishad, Upazila Parishad and municipalities have made the reserved seat for women 1/3 of the total, and women are to be directly elected to the seats. But we still see that women are lagging behind in this sector. Why? It is because even if a woman wants to be conscious, she cannot become conscious. That is because the societal structure doesn't let her be conscious. So, societal structure is the root cause here, not her consciousness. Another crucial factor is education. As we know, our government has taken many steps for educating women. There are the Girls Stipend Program, Female Secondary School Stipend Program, and many other. But even after such prominent steps in education, women are still lacking behind. The percentage of literacy of women in our country is only 29.8%, while for men it is almost above 70%. Why is that? That is because our society has molded the minds of women in such a way that they think they do not need education as they are the nurturers of the society as dictated by the traditional gender roles. So, the societal barrier is what hindering their progress, not their consciousness. We see disparity in work sector too. Only 34.5% of the women are actually joining the workforce or contributing in the workforce. That is because if a married woman wants to work somewhere, she of course needs a child care center for there. But most of the places do not have such facilities, so a woman cannot work there. Another factor is mentionable that in this misogynistic society, some people think that it is wrong for women to go out and earn. So the societal structure is what making her lag behind, not her consciousness. Honorable Moderator, of course we know that public safety is another crucial factor here. Government has taken many steps for ensuring public safety for women. There are separate seats for women in public transport. There is a different cabinet for women in the metro rail. But we still see women getting harassed in public places. A woman cannot feel safe while going out. A woman always feels insecure while going out. That is because the societal structure of our country, the people think that it is normal to harass women, and that is only because of the mindset of the people. So consciousness cannot be the root cause here, because the woman of our country cannot be conscious because of the societal structure and barriers. If a woman wants to go out and study, if a woman wants to go to work, she cannot go out because of the thoughts or mentality of family and people. A psychological factor is mentionable here, that the mind of our society, the mind of people of our society has been molded in such a way that they normalize discrimination against women. As the environmental psychologist Susan Clayton said, mind is like a parachute and it works the best when it's open. So, Honorable Moderator, what I am saying is, while consciousness is of course important, but it can never be the root cause. The root cause here is undoubtedly the social structure and barriers. So, that's all. Thank you.
Now I'm inviting Saimi Shadat Risal, the team leader from Starline Sprout International School, to speak for the motion.
Imagine a world where every voice echoes with equality, where barriers are shattered and the symphony of progress resounds in harmony. Honorable Moderator, respected judges and my fellow opponents, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. Lack of women's rights consciousness is the root cause of their backwardness. It is indeed the root cause. Honorable Moderator, as my opposition team's first speaker said, that the mindset of the people has to be changed to make women from the to make women prevent from their backwardness. I would like to say that the mindset which have to be changed is related to consciousness. Moreover, the second speaker said that the females of a nation are lagging behind though they are being conscious, because the consciousness is not only confined to the women, but also it is the whole people of a nation needs to be conscious to eradicate such problems. Throughout history, societies have often relegated women to secondary roles, suppressing their potential and lack of throughout history, societies have often relegated women to secondary roles, suppressing their rights and potential. This lack of consciousness of women's rights has led to unequal access to education, economic opportunities, and so on. Honorable Moderator, when women are denied access to education, an entire generation is robbed of knowledge and skills that could drive progress. Lack of consciousness of female education results in lower enrollment and higher dropouts. According to UNICEF, 10% of girls never enroll, 34% drop out, and 28% complete school but they lack necessary skills to find a job or go into higher education. Again, economic growth is intricately linked to gender equality. When women are educated and granted equal opportunities, economies thrive. Yet, in many regions, women remain backward because of the lack of consciousness of their rights. A society that neglects women's rights confines them to limited roles, hindering their potential contribution to the economy. Honorable Moderator, though women give equal labor and time in the workforce, their efforts often go undervalued, resulting to a gender pay gap. The Global Gender Pay Gap Report by the World Economic Forum reveals that in many parts of the world, women are still disproportionately burdened with unpaid care work, hindering their participation in the workforce and overall development. Moreover, statistics on gender pay gap of 2022 shows a global gender pay gap of 33% for women and 67% for girls. My opposition team, why are all this happening? Because of the root cause of lack of consciousness of women's rights. The Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, is also a woman who has given undeniable contributions in emphasizing women's rights. She was well conscious about the necessity of women's rights, and hence, on her advice, the government of our country has undertaken different safety net programs like widow and destitute women allowance, old age allowance, and made legal protections against all types of violence like acid throwing, dowry, child marriage, etc. So special thanks to our Honorable Prime Minister. But Honorable Moderator, it is disappointing that despite giving many facilities to women, they are lagging behind and facing violence. The question is why? Because they are not conscious of these things. Poor parents often consider girls as a burden. Honorable Moderator, almost 60% of girls are married before the age of 18. And most of the time their husbands and families abandon them, although the government has taken the Domestic Violence Prevention Act in 2010 and Child Marriage Restraint Act in 2017. Furthermore, the government gives a 6-month maternity leave to female employees, but it is not implemented equally in the private sector. So, Honorable Moderator, only implementation of women's rights cannot only uplift them. People's consciousness about women's rights is also mandatory. So, my opposition team, how is the lack of women's rights consciousness not the root cause of their backwardness? The question remains firmly. Many may say today women have got many rights than before. The saying is absolutely correct and wrong at the same time, because women indeed got acknowledgement of their rights than the past, but not effectively, since many disparities are happening due to present world's lack of consciousness of women's rights. But we must believe that behind the acknowledgement of women's rights lies many conscious and valuable women's contributions. For instance, in Bangladesh there are Begum Rokeya, Begum Sufia Kamal and more. My opponent team has stated that Begum Rokeya became successful through support, and this support has come from the consciousness of her family members. In conclusion, the progress and development of a nation depends on not only men but also women. Since women constitute half the number of population, Honorable Moderator, it's important to note that consciousness is a catalyst for change. If the government, general people and various organizations take necessary steps to make everyone conscious of their rights, then sustainable development will be possible and get rid of the main dominated society. That's all for you. Thank you very much.
Now I'm inviting Golpo Alex DeCosta, the team leader of Japan International Dream School and College, to speak against the motion.
Today, I stand against the notion that lack of women's rights and consciousness is the root cause of their backwardness. In the context of Bangladesh, it becomes evident that the challenges faced by women stem from deeply entrenched social structure. In fact, human behavior expert Peter Sage said, "Environment trumps will." So, while awareness is important, addressing the backwardness of women in society requires the holistic understanding of our society's inner workings. In fact, today I will clarify on how women are not able to become financially independent because of the societal barriers. First of all, Bangladesh confines women to traditional roles, which limits their opportunities. In fact, it was found that only 35% of women had a bank account in Bangladesh in 2017, and it was found that 64% of men had a bank account. This is because of the hierarchical nature of the society deems what types of jobs are deemed acceptable for women. And this is a clear example of how society is limiting the economic development of women. In fact, society assigns distinct roles to both men and women. This is causing the disparity by gender in the employment rate for men and women. In fact, it was found according to the GIA report of 2019 that 35% of women were engaged in the labor force as compared to 80% of men. This is because women are not able to become conscious. There is no safety for them when they go out because of many societal restrictions which cause this. Again, there is the case of inheritance of property. Society favors men most often than not. Because of this, women have this economic disadvantage and they cannot actually accumulate wealth. So if they don't have wealth, how can they actually become conscious of their rights or actually practice their rights? And as said by the first speaker of our opponent team, she mentioned that societal norms are causing the lack of consciousness in women. I'm glad we could come to agreement. And this consciousness is because of the societal barriers, not because of actual conscience, because conscience is a byproduct of the societal barriers. In fact, there are many pervasive gender norms in our society that cause the limitation of aspiration of women, and it also limits their agency. In fact, it was found that married women were only 74% of the labor force, while unmarried women were 87%. This is totally opposite for men, where men who are married had 95% employment rate as compared to unmarried men, where they had 86% employment rate. This is the clear reflection of social values that woman needs to be the household maker and men needs to be the breadwinner. Because of this, women sometimes face discrimination while going to work. This is without considering that they don't have actual safety while they roam around. As mentioned by the opponent, sometimes they are harassed by street vendors and such. Why is this? Because of social values, and this can be only changed if taking necessary steps. In fact, according to a research by University of Colorado in 1967, it was shown that dogs who were exposed to inescapable electric shocks were later unable to escape if escape was a possibility. The same is true for our women. How can they become conscious of their rights if they're constantly deprived of them? They become helpless and accepted the social norms. So our government is taking various initiatives to empower women both in traditional and non-traditional sector. In fact, 4 million garments workers are making a huge contribution in the ready-made garments sector. In fact, under the initiative of our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, it was seen that the Ministry of Labor and Employment trained 10,800 garments workers. Also, the Bangladesh Bank is offering a collateral-free loan of 2.5 million taka. Why is this? So women can break out of their shell. If they don't have any financial backing, they cannot become conscious of their rights. So, Honorable Moderator, I will now summarize today's debate. Our opponent tried to reason why the lack of conscience is the root cause of their economic backwardness and backwardness in general. But we beg to differ because we try to prove in 2 layers that the social barriers are causing both actual restrictions for women and also mental restrictions. Because of this, there is no rise of awareness in women. Women cannot become aware. They are saying that women can become aware and this will change the society. But how will the awareness rise in women if society is constantly depriving them of their rights? So it isn't possible. In fact, the gender gap of in the employment is a clear example of this, because families often restrict women because they think working outside late is dangerous for women, and because of other social stigmas. Because of this, women are restricted by their family. So this is a very clear example of how society is restricting women. So it is undeniable that the crux of the problem is the social structure of Bangladesh, not vice versa, not the conscience. That's all I wanted to say, Honorable Moderator. Thank you.
So this is the end of the first phase of the debate. Now it's time for rebuttal phase. So I'd like to request Saimi Shahadat Risal from the Affirmative team for his speech.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor again. Whenever we do something, at first, what do? First, we think or try to have a clear idea about the doings, right? Then we begin to do it, don't we? And this thinking which comes to our mind is called an abstract concept or consciousness. The newest education curriculum of Bangladesh also discussed this matter. So, my opposition team, don't you think first before doing any activity? I want to know the answer from you. However, if lack of women's rights consciousness is not the root cause of the backwardness, instead other causes which they have mentioned, then tell me, how did these causes arise? It's mainly for lack of consciousness of women's rights. Lack of women's rights consciousness is the root cause which is leading to such causes that are making women backward, and I firmly believe it. Honorable Moderator, according to the report of the Daily Star in October 2022, the Taliban authorities ordered a nationwide ban on female education. They did it due to being devoid of consciousness, but it didn't persist long, as the Afghan women established their rights by being conscious enough and struggling. It is worth mentioning that women's decisions and opinions are often disregarded due to lack of consciousness of their rights, leading to the loss of valuable perspectives, especially in politics. Honorable Moderator, gender discrimination leads to unequal economic rights for women, including unpaid care work, unfair pay, job insecurity, poor working condition, and limited property ownership. Why is this gender discrimination happening? Due to the lack of consciousness of women's rights. If we were conscious enough of women's rights, then this gender discrimination would have never happened. Now, Honorable Moderator, if women's rights are not evaluated properly by the whole nation, then they may remain backward permanently due to lack of consciousness. Finally, I'd like to say that whatever the causes making women backward, beneath this lies the root cause, lack of consciousness of women's rights. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for Golpo Alex DeCosta to come and speak.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator, for giving me the floor again. Now, I'd like to debunk why our opponent is wrong. First of all, our opponent's second speaker asked why the women aren't conscious. I argue women aren't conscious because the society doesn't let them be conscious. In fact, women's mindset cannot change in our social structure, which is like a damp place, and the fire of conscience cannot be lit here. In fact, lack of implementation of laws that they said, this is due to society, and sometimes women are aware of laws, but because of social restrictions, suppose a woman is domestically violated, how can she give and argue against the family because they don't have any support system? Then they will be discriminated against in society that they left their in-laws house. In fact, our opponent argued that consciousness is an abstract concept, and I agree. So I argue that an abstract concept cannot be subjected to change that easily, but social structure is something that you can subject to change. And I believe that in our context, in finding the root cause of women's backwardness, that is the social structure of Bangladesh, that is the main cause. So we should challenge the social structure to make the change. In fact, nationwide ban for women's education, I think this is due to the society's perception of women, because they thought women aren't able to go outside and work because of the societal expectations of women. That's why the ban was issued. Also, how can women take part in different jobs and get equal opportunities in economy if they're being harassed on the streets? If they come home late, many neighbors sometimes talk behind their back. They're stigmatized by society, and also they don't have enough security. Like as they said, a university student was harassed by a street vendor. This is not acceptable. This is because of our social structure, the social values. So I don't think it's the conscience of women that is the main problem. Now, that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Thanks to both teams for their speeches. We really had a very lively debate on lack of women's rights consciousness is the root cause of their backwardness. On one hand, the team for the motion tried to identify the lack of rights consciousness is the main reason of their backwardness. On the other hand, the team against the motion tried to identify the social structure is the main reason behind such type of backwardness. The thing is, actually, for many years we have been trying to establish the rights of the women by arranging many programs, taking many policies, but the situation is not up to the mark, we must say. So we have to wait for the result from our learned panel of judges. So in that case, what we can say that we have to work together. This is also right that yes, women should be more conscious to establish their rights, and on the other hand, we have to change the values we held in our mind. That's why we see that no matter we are educated, no matter we are highly educated even, but we do so many things which ultimately violate the rights of the women. So we have to be very careful about this, and I do believe that you, the debaters, you are like the future of our nation. So you have to work for this. You have to think for this, what to do to establish the rights of the women. How can we work together to get a better society for us to live in? Anyway, we have got the result by this time. Thank you, honorable judges. winner team of today's debate is Japan International Dream School. Congratulations to the winning team. And the best speaker is Golpo Alex DiCosta. Congratulations. Thank you. So thank you. That's all from today's debate. Thank you all.